Welcome, one and all, to the mystical world of Felbar. Adventures abound throughout this realm, and we appreciate the opportunity to regale you with some stories from these trails. These accounts are all based on actual RPG experiences that occurred within Adventures in Felbar. Some of these tales may be for mature audiences, while others may be for very immature audiences. We now present the sage Mikas Tumo from Tamel, also known as the Bard of Felbar.
Welcome to Session Denali-09. There it is, Tobith Shrine. The sun had nearly reached its zenith as the party stood on the road leading into a rocky clearing. An old building with a damaged roof stood in the center of the plateau. "This is the only way in," whispered Kellox. "Unless you can fly," added Phidias the gnome. "Yes, you are right. This plateau has sheer drop-offs surrounding it." The group had reached the area just over an hour after the battle with the Hobgoblins, but had had no other issues since. Yolanda, Sir Omel, and Grish surveyed the area intently. The trio discussed options in hushed tones as Brother Stance and Harris the Mage guarded the rear. "Kellox, what's inside the temple?" asked Grish. "Colorful stones, a tabernacle, ruined murals. I think it was dedicated to a bard named Tobith from 100 years ago or so." "How long before the dragon gets here?" added the Knight of Bacchus. The halfling thought for a moment and then replied, "Not long, I think. We should unload and get out of here." "Get out of here?" asked Brother Stance. "I thought you dealt with this creature," he asked quizzically. "Well, not dealt exactly." The group all turned to look at the sheepish Cartwright, and Phidias the Rogue spoke. "You did say you dealt with this thing before, right?" "Actually, if you recall, I said I had never spoken with it. I never wanted to be a dragon turd, so I would dump the silver and then hide here." "How many times have you seen the dragon?" asked Grish. "Seen? I've seen him twice." Exasperation overtook the group as they realized the halfling hadn't been completely forthright with them. "Okay, new plan," said Grish. "We dump the silver near the front of the old building and wait for the creature to arrive. We speak with it behind the walls, which should protect us, and see what its story is. If we can renegotiate until I can call for military, great. If not, we stay protected until we can't." A wave of fear overtook Kellox, who stuttered out, "Well, we're going to actually talk to this thing?" An angry look crossed the party's faces, and Sir Omel responded with a, "You didn't give us any other options at this point. We know it can speak. How else would your Bayo have come to an agreement?" He turned to Grish and offered an alternative plan. "Look, Cleric, I'm not a fan of putting all our eggs in one basket. How about you and I wait inside the temple and everyone else come back? If it goes bad, we can attack from two sides." Yolanda Two Blades interrupted and pointed out that there were 6 people in the group and it should be split evenly. Grish nodded in agreement and looked at Phidias, the gnome, and said, "You're with us, rogue." Both Phidias and Yolanda responded with a, "What the Hades?" But Grish silenced them both with a raised hand. "This sneaky little bastard may be able to get out behind the creature from the temple, but certainly won't be able to make the dash across the open plateau. Brother Stance can use his hopping crap to close the distance quickly. Harris will need someone with fighting resources to guard him as he uses magic on the thing if needed. I'm trusting you to this so that you could store your contempt. You may realize it's a good plan." The ensemble thought for a minute and agreed that the plan did make sense from a logistics standpoint. "What about the silver?" asked Kellox. Everyone thought for a moment, and Brother Stance said, "Forget it. Let's leave the cart, unhook the things, and move them off. If the things go bad and we kill the dragon, I won't be feeling up to reloading all this damn silver." An hour passed as the two groups sat across the plateau looking at each other. Grish and Sir Omel stood near the doorway keeping a lookout and getting hand signals from Yolanda, who was hidden in the rocks. Phidias soon grew weary of waiting and began to explore the old temple. "These murals are all crap," explained the gnome, invoking a loud "shh" from the fighters. "Hold your damn voice down, rogue," they said. "I don't know why you're so worried. The dragon will be flying in from all these holes in the roof. We'll be able to Phidias was lost for words as he looked through a hole in the wall to see a giant man crawling up onto the plateau. The creature was at least 10 feet tall, and the gnome had never seen such a giant before. As the fighters looked out, they saw a look of horror cross Yolanda's face and noticed silence behind them. Omel and Grish turned to look at the observed Phidias, speechless and pointing upwards. Through holes in the ceiling, they too observed the giant coming up from behind the Tobith Shrine. Looking at each other, they said, "New plan," at the same time. The pair rushed out of the building to square off with the stone giant. "Ho, beast!" yelled out the Knight of Bacchus. "We have no quarrel with you, but move along." The giant looked at the pair, puzzled, then raised its tree trunk of a club and smashed it down, narrowly missing the pair as they dodged the strike. The creature raised its club again, and glowing arrows struck into its chest as Harris fired off a magic missile spell. The giant recoiled in pain and gave a loud yell that was quickly drowned out by a blast of the conch shell instrument. Regaining their feet, Sir Omel and Grish then spotted a second giant coming up from the old building. Phidias had observed the subject coming up and attempted to warn his compatriots with the horn. The initial stone giant observed Yolanda and Brother Stance running across the open ground and swatted the pile of silver on the wagon, just missing Sir Omel's head. Several silver bars became impromptu missile weapons, with one striking Brother Stance. As the second giant rounded the opposite side of the temple, it furrowed its brow and hefted its club. A moment later the club fell to the ground. As the monster reached for it, its face was now covered in thick webs from another spell cast by Harris. Yolanda charged in, followed by a now recovered Brother Stance. Sir Omel and Grish attacked the first giant, with Yolanda and the monk attempting to move on the second giant's club. Another volley of magic missiles struck the second giant's hand as it reached blindly for its club. Giant number 1 swung his club, smashing a portion of the wall, caving in the shrine, and knocking Sir Omel off balance. Grish and Yolanda, fighting side by side, did a significant amount of damage and brought the giant down to one knee. A roar behind them signified that Giant 2 had swept away the webbing and now had its vision back. The monk sprang in with acrobatic prowess and dealt minor damage to the creature before getting smacked into the wagon. With the monster's large hand, Harris fired more magic missiles into the creature as it attempted to smash Brother Stance with its fist. The monk spun away just in time and looked up at his foe. The stone giant dripped saliva onto the monk, who noticed a small shape leaping from the roof towards the back of the creature. As the giant reached down to grab the monk, it pulled back in pain and attempted to get to its feet. As it did, more magic missiles struck the creature, and it began to spin downward. In doing so, the monk, Harris, and Kellox observed a short sword embedded into the giant's back and was being pulled downward by the weight of the gnome. Omel, Grish, and Yolanda were also successfully cutting the giant down to size, but each had been wounded, with the Knight of Bacchus bleeding extensively from a shoulder wound. As the first giant succumbed to his injuries, he swatted his large club, but only struck a nearby rock that went smashing into the shrine, making a loud boom noise. As the initial creature fell, Sir Omel buried his blade deep into the beast's face, ending its life before he himself slumped against the shrine, seriously wounded.
We close out this episode now and give you our thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Bards Podcast. For everyone in Adventures of Philbar, thanks for listening.